Greetings and salutations, friends. Welcome back to Happy Little Orks. I am your resident dungeon master and painter, Josh Hampton. It's been a couple weeks since I've seen you guys. Been, having some old man days, arthritis in hands. Obviously an issue. We've been having a lot of weird weather here lately. Not exactly, super stormy, but it's Kentucky. It starts getting hot, starts getting like a pressure cooker, and then it just, in general, feels kind of horrible. So, yay, joints. They suck. So, guys, I don't know if you've been keeping up with our social media or with any of our other Twitch streams. I know the guys have mentioned it a couple times that I'm going to be painting a gargantuan red dragon. Now, this was giveaway back, I want to say, either the first or second episode of Planar Escapades. And it was a request that instead of doing the traditional red dragon paint scheme, that I painted up like an Azure Rathalos from Monster Hunter. Now, for any of you guys that know me, I'm huge on Monster Hunter. Love it. Rathalos has been the flagship monster and has been a recurring monster over the years, with the Azure version showing up as the flagship several times himself. So, of course, I'm really looking forward to painting this. I've been waiting for the right time, make sure I've got the right paints. I've got most of the right paints. Lo and behold, I brought my stuff last week to do this. Forgot two particular paints. It's okay. I don't think I'll get to his underbelly today or his wings, but that's fine. I can work with that. This actually works out for me that I've, am working on such a big model. So we're just going to go ahead and dive in right here. Give you guys a good up close look at him. Now, he's a large boy. This is probably the biggest thing you guys have seen me paint on stream as of yet. So, and you can tell he's got a lot of individual detail. If I can get the camera to focus. Oh, man behind the camera said that I must turn. Ah, there we go, yeah. So, you guys can see that I've got some crazy amount of detail on these things. Now, this comes from the Pathfinder Deep Cuts series. I believe we actually still have several of these on our website here at Troll and Toad. So, and they're not very expensive. They come pre-primed, ready to paint, all that jazz, straight out of the box. Now, the only thing that I will suggest is this wing right here was originally pushed like that. So I've taken and I've run this boy under some hot water and alternated with cold water to try and straighten that wing out some. I did like the idea of it kind of being it coming around, so I didn't take and put it out completely straight. Now, where these are resin, you can kind of bend them and get an idea of where you would want it. Now, the big thing with working with resin in general is that resin models a lot of times need to be cleaned. Now, where this comes pre-primed, it doesn't need to be cleaned. But what you can do in the meantime to help is whenever something comes out warped, because this is a big problem with resin models in general, is that they'll come out and say, for instance, this piece right here will be completely folded in. I've seen that. Like his little wing talon right here is just kind of folded over, and there's nothing I can really do about this one because of just placement. But what you can do is take, ladies, I know all of you have a hairdryer, just hold it under your hairdryer for a few seconds till it gets real loose and limber, get it positioned how you want it, and have you some cold water running, or have your sink full of cold water, throw some ice cubes in it, and just dunk it straight into that. Or if you've got cold running water, run it straight under it, hold it there until it starts re-solidifying. And this is going to help you with any kind of molding issues that you may have if it just is not the shape that you're really looking for. So, as per usual, I am going to be relying on he doesn't want to stand up straight because I don't have him on his base. It's okay, you have to overlook him. So, as usual, I'm going to be using the Citadel line. I've gotten to be a big fan of this line over the years. If you've been watching me, you know I preach about it. It's a good brand to use. Bit pricey, but it's well worth the quality. So for this, we will be using contrast paints. Now, as usual, when you're using your contrast paints, you don't have to worry about thinning your paint out, but you do have to go over with multiple coats. Especially on something this big, you need to. Now, for what I'm going to do, I'm going to hit top of his head, along his back, on the legs, and then, of course, around some areas on the wings, namely the outermost parts of the wings will be blue, and then, of course, all going down the tail. The spikes on his back, on his tail, the spikes on his wings, claws, teeth, are all going to be a bone color. Yep, definitely painting them up as Rathalos, Panda. I'm glad you got here to watch this. You were just listening to me and Palmer talk about Monster Hunter. And for anyone that has not been keeping up with my endeavors for Monster Hunter, I know, I'm sorry, I'm just HR6 on Rise. It's been crazy at work. It really has. And by the time I get home, a lot of times, I just want to go to bed. So we're going to go ahead and just get us a few decent-sized dollops out. And then we're going to take one of our larger brushes and just go ahead and get that a little wet. And dive right into this boy. Now, as always, wipe your brush on your palette to make sure you don't have too much. Yeah, that skeletal one is real nice. Panda, I hope it gets to you soon, my dude. Whenever you do get it, you know what? If you want, reach out on Discord, and I will see about talking to the guys about us getting a hold of one, and we will see about doing a paint-along here on stream. Because I know we have people that are always just really curious about painting and how to get into it and some techniques. Oh yeah, no, it'd definitely be fun. I would love to get Tab back in here to try and finish up her character, but of course, she's had surgery recently, so she's not going to be on stream for a bit. So, you know, keep her and JT in your thoughts, guys. So, for here, with Rathalos, of course, he has that extra little bone that comes down off the side of his face. Now, this boy doesn't necessarily have that, so what we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and just do the bottom jaw as well. But rather than hitting everything, we're going to leave the center part of his jaw here to where it's going to be getting that nice kind of flesh tone, kind of like that brownish scale look. Now, I don't have my typical palette. This was just some sheet board we had, and I've got to try and do a lot of work real quick with this. This actually would have been a great time to have my wet palette with me. Me and the missus were talking about it last night. She was like, you keep talking about it, but you don't take it and use it. Well, honey, I don't want to tell you you were right, but you were right. So guys, it's been 2 weeks. How have y'all been? Panda, I know you've been checking in on all of our streams here lately. We greatly appreciate it, my dude. So, of course, with bigger areas, it's a lot easier to hit a lot of, like, just these simple areas, and you can go over them real quick, but because of the size, you are going to have to go back and do a second coat on a lot of this. Now, unfortunately, we have no way to get around, you know, getting some of this paint on his spikes, and that's fine because what we'll have to do. This is something that I will probably be coming back and doing next week because I'm going to be working on this boy for a little bit. Uh, going to take and use a white paint to do touch-ups on the spikes, and then we'll go back over the spikes with our skeleton horde contrast paint. I've been using it a lot here lately, and I've gotten to be a really big fan of it. We have a little fly boyfriend. Oh, and he flew off. I hate flies. And if he's not careful, I'm going to paint him like one of my French girls. Yes, chat, you heard that correctly. I will paint a fly like a French girl. Yeah, that's honestly, every time I see Azure Rathalos, I can't help but think of the Azure Dragons from WoW. So, Chris, what you talking about? Flies don't have feelings. They're bugs. Okay, they do feel things because their entire nervous system is their brain. They feel things when they die. Which, unfortunately for them, is in like 24 hours after they're born. Sucks to be a fly, by the way. Now, this would have been one that would have been really good for dry brushing, simply because with or not dry brushing, air brushing. There we go. Yes, a French fly, Harley Q. But this would have been a really good one to airbrush because it would be a lot easier to go over a lot of these larger areas. Now, I will say my only real complaint with this particular model is the wings are already attached. If I were going to paint this normally, like if this was a Warhammer 40k model, I would not put the wings on until I'm ready to finish up with the body. Now, in some cases, with some models, you can get away with that. Others, not so much. This is one of those cases where we just can't get away with it. So, we got to do it. Now, I know my boy Evo, I don't think he's in yet. Wanted to give a nice little update. For anyone who's been keeping up, you know, I've been asking for you guys to recommend stuff for weeks now. Otherwise, I'm literally just going to paint up all my Warhammer stuff. Evo suggested getting a Gundam model and painting it. And he suggested the Gundam Mark II. Well, good news. He's on the way. Finally. Funny story about that. So I ordered my Gundam Mark II. And of course, ordered it on Amazon. So Amazon Prime is a wonderful, wonderful thing. I ordered it. When I looked at it, looked at the page, it was like eligible for Prime shipping. I was like, oh, amazing. I can just go ahead and have it shipped to me for free and get it within a couple of days. Because it even said, will arrive to you by Friday, July 8th, or Friday, June 18th. Lo and behold, it's not gotten here. When I went back to look on Amazon, turns out it's coming from Japan and won't be here until at least between July 9th and July 30th. I'm not a happy boy. Watson, my dude, great to see you. They really are. I've got several myself. I've got the Gundam Hazel and a Gapthali on my desk here at work that I've built. I've got a Banshee Norn that my fiance got for me for Christmas a few years back, set up at home. Black Tristars, Zaku High Mobility Type, Mark II. And then the Geplant Hyrule. If you guys know what the Advanced Zeta is, you know what that is, you know that's a hard word to say. But, and then I've got a Thunderbolt Zaku 1. I mean, that's kind of what we have to expect, though. It's coming from a foreign country, so it has to go through customs. Chris, you should know this by now. You collect. Excuse me, guys. I've been having problems with my asthma here lately. Summer is one of the worst times of year for me because everything is either blooming or has just finished blooming, and I'm just having the worst time when it comes to breathing. So it's definitely taken me some work to try and get this leg done. Like I said, right now I'm mostly just trying to get a good base coat on him as a whole, but it's going to be one of those that I'm going to have to come back and hit a lot of these areas later and just do a second, possibly even a third coat in a lot of cases, because he has a lot of hard to reach areas, and I kind of wish I'd spent more time trying to get this wing straightened out some more to make it easier to get in there. So if I ever get another one of these to paint up, then I will know to make sure and straighten that wing out completely in the future. Hey, the endless waltz zero is amazing. So, but very fun. The Mark II I've got coming is a real grade. So this is one of the more expensive Gundam models that I've bought, and it's definitely going to be one of the larger scale ones to put together, simply because they have actual moving parts attached to them, joints, all that jazz. So I'm really looking forward to putting it together. That's going to be one of those that when I do go to put it together, it'll probably just be when I'm at home, simply because some of these models not so bad to put together. Others, my Banshee Norn took me about a full day to work on. Oh yeah, no, Chris, it's Kentucky in the middle of summer. I know that your asthma's probably driving you crazy as well right now. The more expensive ones, especially once you start getting up to like the professional grade, those ones are really nice. Those in like the master grades. Like I would love to get me, say, either a professional or a master grade, or maybe even one of the medals. The medals are really nice, but I don't have room for it. And I remember uh, one of my buddies was telling me about a store he went into in one of our nearby towns, Lexington. And the guy was putting together the Mark One tall geese back from Gundam Wing. And like this was one of those things that he had to use tools and everything. He had a soldering iron. He was putting LEDs in it. Whole works. I would love to get a hold of something like that. So guys, for any of you that were watching me and Palmer earlier on TNT Tactics, of course we were talking about dragons. Uh, Plenty of neat things going on with dragons right now in general in D&D. New sub-race traits for Dragonborn, all that. And then, of course, lo and behold, new spells, new feats, essentially new ways to play Dragonborn. And that's always really nice. So it just seems even more appropriate that I'm starting on the Sejur Rathalos today. I don't disagree that Dragonborn monks are broke. In general, Dragonborn monks are still really good anyhow, simply because natural armor does not conflict with unarmored bonus. Because, well, you can't really take your skin off. There's a feat in the player's handbook, right? Might not be the player's handbook. It's might be Bolo's Guide to Everything. I don't remember right off the top of my head, but there's a feat for Dragonborn that just straight up puts them at AC 13. It also gives them claws as natural weapons, so you can imagine where I'm going with this for Dragonborn Monk. Now, as always, guys, whenever you're painting, especially when it comes to something big like this, make sure that you are regularly cleaning your brush off, simply because if you don't, you're just going to end up making a headache for yourself in the long run. Now, I'm trying to set this boy so that he's not going to tip over and get paint everywhere, but he's just being a pain in the butt. There we go. Oh. Now, of course, whenever you're working on something like this, where you have a lot of space to cover, make sure that you're using a larger brush, simply because it'll let you take and cover more area with not quite as much effort. You can see I've had to take and put more paint on my palette several times already. Now, the big thing with what's going on right now, like I said, I'm using a piece of sheet board as my palette, so it's just soaking up all the moisture from this paint. Now, if I can think of it, next week I'll be bringing in my uh, wet palette, and I'll talk to you guys about those, what they do, and how cool they are, and I'll go and put it to use. Typically, I don't like the idea of using it with contrast paints because you don't really want to thin them out, but in this case, can't really help it. Now, I'm thinking what I'm going to end up doing is, for at least this part of his wing, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of make it the blue to go along with the scales. It's kind of a rough thing. Shoe. It's kind of difficult to get the differentiation right because, of course, you've got the webbing for the wings and then you've got the bones themselves. So I think what I'm going to do is, once I get at least the outer part of the wing done, I'll come back with one of my smaller brushes and I'll hit up those specific pinions. Now, for any of you that have never played Monster Hunter, the Azure Rathalos is a much worse version of Rathalos in general. To give you guys an idea, it's a dragon. It flies. Well, Azure Rathalos doesn't want to get on the ground ever. He prefers to stay airborne versus normal Rathalos, who's only airborne about, a quarter of the time that you're actually hunting it, typically. But in this case, no. Azure Rathalos is a complete and total pain in the butt in that regard. So, I'm going to go ahead and take care of his right wing as well for getting those outer parts. Now, like I said, I'm definitely going to have to come back and go over a lot of these spikes with some white paint to touch it up, and get it ready for me to start putting on contrast paints. Because with contrast, you have to start out at a light tone. The fact that these models come primed white works out perfectly because you can just take and just go straight at it and not have to worry about whether or not you have to take and prime it white. All right, guys. Well, while we're working on this one, how about we go ahead and get into our first giveaway of the evening? I know we typically try and wait until intermission to do the first giveaway, but I'm really wanting you guys to be thinking about the next model that you might be working on painting. So, give me just a second here. Get my boy set down. Just let him stare up at you, screaming into the void. So, our first giveaway for the night, and this is perfect because, again, me and Palmer just talked about it earlier. I was talking about it just now. I'm giving away a 2-pack of Dragonborn Paladins. Now, these are from the Nolzur's Marvelous Miniature line. If you don't win these, we have more. They are very inexpensive. Like, I think this particular pack is like $5. That's for 2 minis. So, yeah, you have to go and paint them, but that's some of the joy about it. You can help to come up with your next D&D character. Panda, I know you were talking about a Dragonborn Paladin earlier, so this is perfect for you, sir. Now, like I mentioned before, in the case of resin models, typically you will have some warping that takes place. It can't be avoided. So you can see right here, this boy's axe is a little warped. This boy here, his mace, instead of being straight, is just completely bent at like a good 90-degree angle behind his head, and he's holding his hand like this. So it's one of those. Just remember my tips. Run it under hot water until you can take and maneuver it and get it straightened back out, and then put it under cold water immediately so you can just go ahead and get it straightened out, and it's going to set that way. So for our keyword, we're going to go ahead and just use Dragonborn. Why not? It seems appropriate. You know, the Dovahkiin. Especially if you guys are looking forward to the new Dragonborn stuff that's going to be coming out sometime this year. If you're wanting to test out some of the unearthed arcana, definitely try and get this, because these are going to be great for it. So, as Palmer always says, he that spam word, try and win you some cool stuff. At the time, I was like, yeah, I'm working on a dragon. This seems highly appropriate. Well, now it's, I'm working on a dragon, having talked about dragons for a decent chunk of the day. It seems more appropriate now than ever. Record of Ragnarok. I've been meaning to sit down and watch it. I watched the old Ragnarok anime and read the old manga that went with it. And yeah, not bad in general. I've heard a lot of good things about Record of Ragnarok, so I will definitely be getting into that one to look at it, watch it. I just have to make sure that I dedicate some time every week to actually taking and watching anime. I've been really bad about it here lately. I'll get home, me and the missus will sit down to watch something, and then the evening's gone. So, now, of course, for any of you that have played Monster Hunter, you're probably looking at this blue on this dragon and thinking, that's a little bit light for the Azure Rathalos. And you're not entirely wrong. This is why we're going to have to go over with a second to a third coat. Now, the great thing about applying the extra coats, you don't have to go over in quite such detail, because one of the great things with contrast paints is when you take and you do apply it heavily, it's going to do a lot of the work for you. It's going to go ahead and just slide into the recesses. That way you've got a lot of your shading taken care of. So that's kind of our saving grace here, especially with how big this model is. It's just falling perfectly in place where I'm needing it to, for like some of the spots on his wings, the scales. Like up close, these scales are already looking really nice in general, but it's one of those that I'm still going to have to go back and go over everything. Hmm. Well, I will definitely have to take and give that a watch there, Chris. I've been meaning to try and sit down and watch all of Yasuke, and I've not been keeping up with it. Seems like a really good anime. Kind of weird because magic, robots, and a black dude in Japan is not what I expected. Um, so I definitely got some Afro Samurai vibes from it. For any of you that have ever seen that, you'll understand what I'm getting at with that. But in general, I know I'm getting ready to show my super nerdy weeb side. It's okay. The two specific anime that I'm looking forward to getting the next season for, in order, Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid and Reincarnated as a Slime. So, yeah, and I can hear Kelly over there just kind of laughing at what I just said. It's okay. I understand what I am. I am a man who enjoys my anime. Um, but no, if you guys haven't watched Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid and you just want to watch something that's slice of life without the depression attached to it, watch Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. It's a good time. It's a good laugh. It's really adorable and super wholesome. And yeah, no, slime is amazing. Uh, we're getting the second part of season two. Believe I looked it up. I think it's July 7th, and we're getting Kobayashi's Dragon Maid season two on July 6th. So this is getting ready to be a really awesome summer for anime. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and put my big brush to the side for now. I'm gonna go ahead and work on the bones, on the wings, the pinions. Let's see. There we go. So as you guys can see, all animals that have wings have bones that run through their wings. It's just how it works. So the bones help wings to maintain shape. Here's your science for the evening. Well, this boy has a lot of them. I want to point out a gargantuan red dragon is supposed to be roughly, I want to say 20 to 30 feet tall. Possibly bigger. I don't remember right off the top of my head. So it's one of those that they have to have a lot of bones. Unfortunately for me as a painter, this means that I have to do a lot of extra work. But it's okay, because what's painting without having a lot of work attached to it? Now, guys, if you've been watching me from episode 1, you know why I have this old ratty looking brush. And if you haven't been watching me since episode 1, it always helps to keep your old brushes around, simply because you can take and use them to dip your paints out. You can use them for like just doing a quick base coat on something, and it's really good to keep the old messed up brushes around just so you can take, and if you do end up messing one up, you're not losing anything. You know, the brush has already served its purpose, so you're covered whenever the brush's time is up. Which, I've got me a new camera, by the way, so if you guys see me reaching up and then the picture comes into focus, that's me having to mess with the camera. So, we're going to go ahead, work on the outside of the wings with getting the bones. Now, guys, if you haven't joined our Discord, you probably should. come talk to us. I'm pretty much available most of the time. Of course, if I'm here at work, I can't really answer immediately, but we check your messages. All of us do. So definitely, if we don't respond immediately, we'll respond to you as soon as we can. And ask us anything. We're just there to talk. If you've got questions about, you know, our shows, our schedules, anything like that, we have answers. Uh, Now that being said, we're not customer service. We can't answer customer service related questions. I've seen those pop up a few times. Uh, so as always, if you need help with something on our website, definitely go through our customer service, click the contact us button on the website, and our people will get to you. Even if it's not immediately, they will get to you as soon as they can. You know. But if you have questions about D&D, painting, or you just want to talk about whatever it is, magic, anime, cartoons, uh, Chris's shameful toy collection that he has way too many of, wrestling, we've started talking a bit more about wrestling in there here lately. By all means, come, join us, talk to us. Now you can tell where I'm using a smaller brush here, I'm not getting quite as much paint on the bones as I would anything else here, where I was using the bigger brush. But in this regard, it's actually better for me to use a small brush and just have to get more paint on my brush more frequently because I can better control how much is going on and where it's going on at. The less touch-ups I have to do later, the easier it is on me. So, I mean, you say that, but I don't think you've really shown us anything to prove that your toy collection is truly marvelous, sir. Now, I'm going to digress into collectibles here lately. I keep getting recommendations from the Square Enix store. Now, one of my favorite games back on PlayStation 1 was not Final Fantasy. Big shock. I know. It's okay. Probably my favorite RPG that was on PS1. There are two that are just my all time favorite above anything else on any other console. Uh, One of them is Chrono Cross. Love that game. The other one is another Square Enix game. Well, okay, there's three. Uh, Back when it was Squaresoft, Legend of Dragoon. Now that is probably my all-time favorite RPG, just hands down across the board. But then there's Chrono Cross, which had an amazing story, and then a little known game, also by Squaresoft, called Xenogears. Now, for anyone that kept up with what Square Enix was putting out back in the early 2000s, you know about Xenosaga. And yes, they are related. I loved some Xenogears. One of my favorite games. A friend of mine back in high school let me borrow his copy, and then he was like, "Just go ahead and keep it." And I asked him, I was like, "Are you sure?" He's like, "Yeah, keep it. Consider it a birthday present." So made me super happy. Come to find out, there was an error with the second disc about halfway through it that just caused the game to freeze, and I never did get to finish it. And now I can't find a copy. Depresses me. But the Square Enix store has been popping up on uh, my Facebook feed constantly here lately, featuring some of the mechs from Xenogears. So, of course, me and my collector's side is really wanting to get some of those. What's more, they've got figures for both Faye and Ellie. It sucks being an adult and having responsibilities. And you'll notice, guys, like I said, I'm having to go back and reload my brush for this constantly. Because, again, small brush. This is going to be one of those things that you're going to see me do a lot of. Alright, so what are you on about, Chris? Oh, what? NECA's actually going to? Amazing. Man, I don't have 3 kids, but I understand. Because I play Warhammer. So, it's almost like I have 3 kids. One kid is my fiance's son. My second kid is my Chaos Space Marines, and my third kid is my Disciples of Tzeentch. Because, you know what, that it feels like I'm having to spend that much in order to build those armies. Which, that's another thing. If you guys ever have questions about Warhammer, talk to me in Discord. At me, if you have to. That way, if you have lore questions, if you have rules questions, yes, Chris, you're the 4th kid, and you're the redheaded stepchild of the family. But yeah, if you have questions about Warhammer, I am our resident Warhammer fanatic / expert. My fiance would love for me to shut up about it. My co-workers would love for me to shut up about it. So, talk to me. So, we're coming along relatively well. How about we go ahead and roll our giveaway right quick. Bronze Panda, you've won the giveaway, my dude. See, you can get your Dragonborn Paladin going. No, we don't have to speak and close this one either, simply because he already has a paycheck. So it's like we're adopting a teenager, but this teenager is like 18, so we can just go ahead and throw him out of the house. Now, the good thing about this is I can take and where it's resin, depending on the type of resin it is, you can kind of flex it and bend it how you need it. In this case, I can kind of go ahead and just hold it where I want it and need it, kind of stretch it out, and just be able to easily hit some of these details. And it just makes it really easy to hold it on my hand because I've just, oh no, an accident. But I can just take and have it sitting here on my hand. If I apply a little bit of pressure with my thumb and forefinger, then I can straighten this wing out some. And what are you talking about, Chris? That's what most parents aspire to do, is have a kid and then kick them out when they're 18. So guys, like I said, this particular boy, I'm going to be working on for a couple weeks at least. This week for sure. And then probably the next 2 if I had to hazard a guess. Simply because size of the model and the amount of time that I'm having to spend on, for instance, like his wings. Because I know you guys probably can't see it super well, but from what I can see, some of the spots I've gone over are really splotchy. It's kind of the issue with contrast paints, but that's also why you need to do multiple coats. And this is regardless of whether you're using contrast paints or regular paints. It always helps to go back and do those extra coats. So now, if this was normal paint, I would just go ahead and say, go ahead, kind of just glob it on there, and then use a different brush to spread it out and get it smoother. But in the case of contrast paints, you can't really do that. Now watch, I've put this here, I'm going to reach up and get it, and I'm going to paint myself blue. But I need more paint on my palette. So now I will say one thing, that this particular color of paint has been a really good paint for me to use on a lot of things. And I've barely even used like a quarter of the bottle. That is just how far the contrast paints can go for you versus just regular paints. Because in general, you're not having to use quite as much. It might seem like I'm taking and getting a ton to use for this, but I'm really not. Because what I am using is just everything that's on the brush, spreading it out as it goes, and then whenever I get a little bit more, just make sure I don't have too much on there. And admit it, Chris, if you were my kid, you'd be grounded all the time. Or kicked out of the house. One of the two. Which, by the way, Chris, I know you've picked up a habit of using me as your good luck charm, as you like to call me, as well as, like, just your background noise while you're gaming. What are you playing? And are you losing? After I didn't think to restrict power weapons on Halo. I'm not giving you good luck vibes tonight, sir. He probably is playing that fork knife. I don't know. He's been big on Gears 5 here lately. Oh. Ooh, new episode of Loki. Ooh, new episode of Loki. What? I'm really enjoying this series. If you guys haven't been keeping up with it, you need to. Get caught up if you've not started yet. Talk to us in chat. I know myself and Chris would probably love to have some people to talk to about it because so far it's been really good. Um, and seriously, first episode, it just reminds you how good of an actor Tom Hiddleston is simply by how he reacts to some of the stuff that he gets to see. It really is. Now that being said, speaking of great series, and I know Palmer is already kind of surprised about this. Chris, you'll be surprised when you hear. I've not been keeping up with Bad Batch. I know I need to, but literally, I get home, I go eat dinner, I attempt to do a little bit of gaming, and then I just go straight to watching some TV with the missus and try not to pass out while watching TV with said missus. Yeah, yeah, I know. Just hush your mouth. I know, okay? I know. See, now I know that one thing I'm super stoked for whenever it finally comes out is Obi-Wan. I know, Bad Batch, really good, should definitely watch it, but Obi-Wan, that is one of those things that I'm really looking forward to. just in general, a lot of things that I'm looking forward to. Now, that being said, I remember correctly. I remember one of the guys saying something about we're going to start doing like movie nights in the Discord. So, if you are a member of our Discord, make sure to stay tuned for more info about that. It'll be one of those things that we'll announce it before it happens, and then we'll let everyone know whenever we're getting ready to start. So, I'm not sure when we're going to start doing that, but that is a near future thing. Well, Watson, welcome to the Discord server, my dude. Um, like I said earlier, if you have questions about anything gaming related, anime, you name it, ask. We'll talk about it. If you just want to theory craft for like decks for Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh, I know we got some guys in there that deal with Digimon. Anything like that, by all means, talk to us. Now, guys, we are going to go ahead and take us a short little intermission tonight. We're not going to be running quite as long as usual tonight. So we'll take us a quick little 5-minute intermission, and then we'll come back and get our next giveaway started. So stay tuned, guys. He's a wyvern. They make a big distinction in Monster Hunter about what is a dragon and what's a wyvern. Wyverns are, of course, just commonly found. Dragons are also known as elder dragons, and they're the ones that are literally, they walk through an area, and lo and behold, the ecosystem has changed or just been removed altogether, depending on the dragon. So, this is going to be our other giveaway for the night. Now, I don't have a fancy keyword in mind for this one, so we're just going to go ahead and make it wyvern. As usual, from the Nolzur's Marvelous Miniatures line. If you guys have noticed a trend here, I love giving out stuff that can be painted. And this is my way of saying, if you don't paint, at least give it a try. Because you never know. You may end up really enjoying it. You may not. You never really know until you try. And I know for me, when I first started with miniatures and painting in general, I hated it. Couldn't stand it. Well, now, I actually really love it. It's one of the most relaxing things I can do. I can take and just chill out for 1, 2, 3, 8 hours at a time. And yeah, I've done that. Just sit around and paint for like 8 hours straight. Now, given that's been a few years ago and, you know, arthritis wasn't quite as much of an issue as it is for me now. But, of course, that was something that I would do. So, we're going to go ahead, get back to work here on the wing. Thankfully, we're almost done with the first coat on the bones here on the left wing. Just got to do some touch-ups here and there. We'll probably wait to do our second coat before the bones on the wings, simply because we're going to be coming back to the wings with a different thing. I said the keyword was wyvern. My dude. I guess you could also say, wyvern, why are you like this? Ah, that. I'm full of bad jokes, guys. It's okay. If Kelly was named Vern, then it'd be perfect. So, I will make earnest references if I want, sir. So, I look back at my childhood and I watched a lot of the Ernest movies, like Ernest Scared Stupid, Ernest Saves Christmas, Ernest Goes to Jail, all that. And I think I understand now that I'm stopping to think about it, how most of my humor was formed. And yeah, I blame Ernest. Now, of course, guys, for these giveaways, you do need to be following us. Subscribers do get double entries for that. So, if you've not been following us all this time and you're wondering why you haven't won something yet, you need to be following us. That's why you ain't won. All right. And with that, it looks like we are done with the bones on the outside of the wing. Now, the inside is where it's going to be a bit more of a pain to get to because, lo and behold, I have to work around his arm. They really don't. It's one of those that I wish I had like some of the old VHS copies, but then the problem arises that I don't have a VHS player anymore. I haven't had one of those since I was a kid myself. Because my parents were like, Blu-ray and DVDs are the future. And I think they got rid of their VHS player, but they still have all their old VHSs. Go figure. I believe I just painted a part of the wing that I didn't mean to paint. And you know what? That's fine. We're all about, those happy little accidents around here. Happy little accidents can lead into some amazing works of art, or they can just lead into some happy little orcs. But I think what I'm going to go ahead and do here, go ahead and make this entire part right here blue. And then I'm going to flip back over here to the outside right fast. And I'm just going to do the same over here. Just go ahead, make this entire part blue. It kind of helps to unify the colors for the wing. Yeah, that's going to look good. See, like I said, happy little accidents lead to some great works of art and great changes. Ooh, no, no, the PC crash. So, of course, this is one of those times where I would normally suggest try not to go back over any spots where you've used contrast paints until those particular spots get a chance to sit and dry for a while. But in this case, where it's so big and you have no choice but to go back and do multiple coats, it's okay to have to go back while it's still drying and do like a quick coat over something simply because you're going to end up going back over it and fixing it in the long run. Now, for those that are just now joining us, with contrast paints, they form kind of like a skin whenever you paint it on. And you don't want to go back over that for about 5 to 10 minutes simply because that it's forming a film on it and actually taking the time to dry. So by doing that, you can actually mess up your paint job if you go back over something too soon. Now, like I said, big boy. Nothing wrong with taking going ahead and doing that because you're going to have to go back. There's not really a choice in the matter for this one. Because if you want to get you a good paint job going, you're going to go back over some spots multiple times. I know that I will end up working on these wings probably more than I will the rest of the dragon from the looks of it so far. Now, I'll go ahead and tell you, for anyone that wins any of the miniatures that we give away here on Happy Little Orks, any of the unpainted miniatures, I make this offer to everyone. If you want to have it painted here by myself, let us know. Whenever we reach out to you, we send out a whisper for any of our new viewers. If you win, we let you know, hey, this is us. Let us know where you're at so we can send you your things. And if you want it painted, you let the guys know, they'll let me know. Now, depending on what it is, it may not be something that I can get to on stream, especially if I'm working on a larger project like this. But that's still one of those things that I can take and get it painted up for you, have it ready for you, and we'll send it out once it's done getting painted. And that's just a nice little service that I offer up myself, because I enjoy painting. There's been several things that we've sent out that I've wanted to paint. We gave away a Cthulhu figure a couple weeks ago that I wanted to paint that thing so bad. So now, to give you guys an idea, if I was to work on this boy at home, probably from start to finish, I would probably end up putting about 15 or so hours into him. Now, I want to say that's probably, a hefty ballpark estimate, but this is what I'm kind of going with right now, simply because of how big it is and how long it's taken me to work on, like, these wings, for instance. And yes, Watson, you are very correct. It is some of the most relaxing stuff that you can ever do. There's a reason I always suggest everyone, pick up painting, give it a shot, even if your models come out looking like absolute poopy. It's one of those things that I wish I had kept some of my first Warhammer models I ever painted. Horrible looking things, horrible. But compared to what I do now versus, almost 10 years ago now when I started playing Warhammer, it's night and day. It's one of those that you'll not really notice how well you're doing and how much you've progressed until you take and look at some of your old models in comparison to your new ones. See, I'm kind of the same way, Watson. I can't really draw too well, but when it comes to painting, especially when it comes to miniatures, that's my thing, is I just really enjoy painting miniatures. Like I've told everyone before, one of the great things about playing games like Warhammer or D&D, whenever you go to paint up like these character models, or in this case, a monster, you can take and actually just think about the story behind them. Develop their character. In this case, this is just a really old Azure Rathalos. I had halfway considered, for any of you Monster Hunter fans out there, if you played Generations or Generations Ultimate, then you know what the Dreadwing Rathalos is and what the Deviants are. Monsters that live so long that they just naturally evolved. I considered painting this boy up like he was a Dreadwing Azure Rathalos. The idea behind that, to me, is really nice, and it's entirely possible that I will get like a paint pen and actually do more of the wing designs for that, where they just have like black veins growing more on their wings. So, who knows? And of course, guys, as always, I'm glad you all are here. I love having you guys around in the evenings, keeping me company. I know you could probably be watching or doing anything else in the world that you could think of, but you're sticking it out with me while I'm painting it. I know a lot of our viewers literally just tune in for the nice ambient talk. And you know what? I appreciate all you guys too. Even if you're not here to talk to me, you're here to, you know, listen to me ramble on for hour and a half, 2 hours. Thank you, Watson. This is the Talisar Blue contrast paint from the Citadel line. Uh, I don't believe we have any of it here at Troll and Toad. The Citadel brand is made by Games Workshop for Warhammer. Now, of course, you can use this for anything. This right now, with just the base coat, it's not coming out quite as dark as I would like it. But like I said, I'm going to have to do 2 to 3 coats for all the blue spots on this boy. So I can definitely say right now that I can't wait to get him done, mostly because I want to see the finished product for him, especially with all the detail that he has. Well, I know, Harley Q, that you've been wanting him done for a couple months now. More than a couple, actually. She's been really patient with me, so. But yeah, this is the problem to not using a regular palette. Um, as far as palettes go, Watson, I know you've already been talking about painting some, so this is definitely a good tip for you. Um, if you're just looking for a nice disposable option, styrofoam plates are actually a really good way to go because they don't really absorb liquid too well. So the moisture for the paint will stay where it needs to. Uh, so those are a good option. If you want a reusable or more environmental friendly option, you can go down to like your local hardware store or something and get a like just a white floor tile, just basic plain floor tile, and use that. I've seen many people do that exact thing. Um, I keep forgetting to run by Lowe's and get me a floor tile to be using for that, so I just have been using, in this case, like sheetboard, like I said, or a paper plate. Now, on the bright side, left wing is done. Start working on the right wing. I can tell you right now for sure, I'm not going to be able to get this wing done tonight, but we can at least get started on it. So that way there's a little less for us to work on come next week. Now, I know it's a bit early, but I'm going to go ahead and do our shout outs for the week, uh, especially for any of our new viewers. So, of course, we have me at starting at 6 o'clock every Thursday. Friday, we have the Magic Commander, which I believe we have Logan again this week. Jeremy is normally our dude for Commander, but he's been a very busy boy here at Troll and Toad, so he'll get back to it when he can. Till then, we have Logan filling in for him. Then, of course, at I believe at 6 tomorrow evening, we have the Yu-Gi-Oh! Super Show with our boy JT. Uh, I have no idea what he's doing this week for the Super Show. So, guys, if you're curious, come check it out. He's been doing a lot of user submitted decks here lately. So, I meant viewer. It's been a long day. But he's been doing a lot of viewer submitted decks here lately. So if you've got a particular deck that you've built that you want him to try out, then send it to us on Discord and he can put it together on Dueling Book and just you go ahead and use that. I believe he's played against Panda on Dueling Book before. I keep wanting to play against him on Dueling Book, but I keep forgetting to do so because I'm usually busy on Friday evenings. But I digress. Then we come back around to Monday, where we have... I can't remember the name of it. I think it's Tables, Ladders, and Trolls. It's the wrestling show. It happens, I believe, at 5:30 to 7:30. I got the thumbs up, so I'm correct. Woo! It is, of course, Chris the Collector with whoever he has as a guest that week. He's not had me yet, which is probably better for him. That way I don't, pull his budget anymore than I already have. Then for Tuesday, we have... I believe we are actually moving Chris's Collectibles, or C&H Collectibles, to Tuesdays. We'll be running from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. on that. No, you won't. Unless, it's a classic episode, in which case I actually know stuff about old wrestling. New wrestling, I don't know anything about. But yeah, C&H Collectibles is now on Tuesdays from 3 to 4. Come check it out, guys. We usually have some really cool stuff. In case you guys missed our most recent episode, it should still be up on Twitch, and it was a Transformers episode. I came out, I showed my knowledge on Transformers. Of course, we talk all things Transformers, collectibles, and cartoons. I avoided the movies simply because I'm not a big fan of the live action movies. Personal preference, but... And then, of course, on Wednesdays, we have Drew's Poker Shop. I believe he's actually back to talking about what's going on currently in Pokemon, the trading card game. And I think he's been doing some TCG online with it. So, come check that out. He's really great guy. Love that boy to death. And then, lo and behold, at 6 o'clock, we have Standard Logan with Standard Kelly for Standard Magic. The boys have been working on the Grixis deck here lately. They can't figure out if they should go with the 60 or the 80. I think Kelly was saying last night that the 60 felt more consistent, but I'd like to see that 80 card deck get working. I know, I said it's standard. You're standard. I digress. I have to give Chris a bit of crap. If I don't, he's going to think something's wrong. And then, of course, we come back to Thursday, which we have Troll vs. Toad. I believe we are actually going into our next video game for the video game season. So, for those of you who are big fans of anime, you know that Dragon Ball FighterZ is an amazing fighting game. And that's what they're doing. I don't know who the first matchup is going to be, but guys, check it out. I know JT has been playing constantly, just on his own time to get some practice in. So, I want to see him take top on that one. Then, of course, Thursday after that, we have TNT Tactics with myself as the co-host and the Smash Captain Palmer as our host for that one. Not sure what we're going to talk about yet. That's one of those things that we'll figure out as we go. And then we come back around full circle to having me here at 6 every Thursday with happy little orcs. And of course, Saturday of next week is when we're going to have our next episode of Planar Escapades, our D&D campaign, with myself, the resident dungeon master, and a few of the other friendly faces you've seen here before. If you guys were watching Troll vs. Toad today, Brooke is our resident warlock for that. Palmer is there. Chris the Collector himself plays the bard Gamby. Though mostly he just screams and wants to get undead furniture. Oh, Holly's thrown her hat in that ring. Okay, then that's actually going to be a good matchup. Like Holly versus JT, that'll be a good one. Because I know she's big on fighters as well. And then, of course, the big thing, we're moving. At least for Planar Escapades. Instead of the studio, we are going to be taking and setting up shop at the Williamsburg Game Cafe. I can never remember the actual name of the store, so I hope I'm not messing that up. Nick, if you're watching, I'm so sorry. But we're going to be taking and setting up there for Planar Escapades and calling that home. So, we're leaving the dungeon. I'm kind of sad about that one, but it is what it is. We do what we must to keep bringing you guys an amazing storyline. I know everyone that's been watching has been having fun. And I think everyone has completely forgotten that the dwarf has a cursed ring that lets him hear what you guys say in chat. You can spend your channel points, I think it's 1,000, to send a message to the dwarf. And whenever you send it, I just go ahead and let his character know that somebody is talking some severe crap about him. And, or, you know, the voices in his head are trying to get him to do something. So, guys, make sure to be using that. It's a really cool feature. If I was watching, I would definitely be using that as often as I could. All right, so we're going to go ahead and roll this giveaway. Let's see who gets it. Okay, look. The voices in your head are mostly your own. Bronze Panda, you won the Wyvern too. Congrats. So, you've got the perfect critter for your Dragonborn Paladins to either A, be fighting, or B, be riding. So, I'm going to do a little bit more work here on the wing. I will go ahead and say his right wing is a bit more of a pain in the butt, simply because all the bones are a lot closer together than they are on the other wing. You would think that would make it easier, but it really doesn't, because I have to go through and just be hitting those specific high points. But if I'm not careful, you can see I'm falling in between the wings a lot for this. So it's just making more and more of a mess for me. But it's okay. I can work with that. Most of the time, whenever you go to paint models, you're going to make more of a mess out of them starting out with it. And then as you make your progress, you can clean it up as you go. Realistically, I think what I'm going to do next time is definitely finish up the bones for the wings. And then, honestly, I'm probably just going to go ahead and just finish up the wings. Get that flesh in between the bones and all that, so the wings are just done, over with. I'll go back, do touch-ups on the bones and all that. That way, it's looking good, and I can just go ahead, get them done with, and focus on the rest of the dragon, because I started on the wings about an hour ago. Lo and behold, I'm still on the wings. Told you guys, this one would probably take me a bit. That's why I'm going to be working on this one for a couple weeks. So, if you're curious about the progress, definitely come back and watch us next week as I continue working on this boy. Eventually, he will be featured in Planar Escapades. I know that was Miss Harley Q's request, was that it got painted as an Azure Rathalos, and that it gets featured in the campaign at some point. So, I'm a man of my word, and once he's finished, he's definitely going to make an appearance somewhere. Most likely, I'm trying to think of the best place for it, and the more I think about it, honestly, probably going to be Ravnica. Either that or probably Zendikar. One of those two. Ravnica or Zendikar. Alright, guys. Now, I'm going to go ahead and sit my boy down here. And, of course, it's been a bit since I've gone over any specific tips for taking care of your brushes and everything. So, definitely going to go ahead and talk about that. Always, always, always wash your brushes. Yeah, I've got my dip cup here so I can dip the water, or dip the water in the brush. Dip my brush in the water, and that's definitely going to help, but it's always good to take and run your brushes under like hot water. Just give them a good scrub. Wash them off real good. Uh, some of my brushes I just picked up at Walmart. A super cheap little thing. They're not bad brushes. Um, Chris, no one cares about your toothbrush. Oh, this is what he looks like so far, buddy. He's all blue and white. It'll be a little more work before he's done there, but you'll get to see him as soon as he's done. So, but yeah, of course, always take good care of your brushes. The better you take care of the brushes, the longer they're going to last and the more mileage you'll get. To give you an idea, some of my Citadel brushes that I have, uh, I've had a couple of these for about 4 or 5 years, and they're still in really good shape. I've got one here that I've had since I started painting, like models in general, and it's in pretty rough shape. Now, I don't think I've shown it off here lately, so for our new viewers, here it is. It is super rough, and like you can tell, the brush itself is pretty much gone. There's very little left of it where I've just had paint dry in it, and I've had to try and get that paint out. It's ripped out some of the bristles. The lacquer on it is starting to crack, where I just keep it in my dip cup. But this is what I use to get paint out of the pots with. So I don't care if this one gets messed up any more than it already is, because if it does, I mean, this brush served me for a good 6 or 7 years. And that was with me taking poor care of it. So, whereas, like, my other large brush, same exact brush, I've had this one, like I said, about 4 or 5 years, and still in really good shape. That's the big difference between just making sure to take good care of your brushes, rinsing them regularly, and just getting you a good cloth of some kind. I suggest actual cloth and fabric rather than like a paper towel. Yeah, a paper towel is going to absorb a lot, but the good thing with these is that where they're so textured, you can just scrub your brush on it, and it's going to help it get clean real easy. That's why this cloth here is many a different color. So, guys, those are my big tips for you this evening. As always, I appreciate having you all. Thanks for coming and listening to me talk for an hour and a half. And guys, if you like what you're seeing, let us know in Discord. We love hearing feedback from you guys. If you've got any particular things you'd like to see us do in the future, let us know, because we're always looking for new ideas. And then, as always, if you ever want to see something in particular painted, or a different paint style, or like use of different paints, reach out to me on the Discord. Let me know. I'll do what I can to get a hold of it to make it happen. Guys, as always, thanks for coming. Love you all dearly. Have a great evening.